Hey, hi, how are ya? It's your first day in the shop. Today, we're gonna be building theater-style door flats or theater-style window flats. Okay, I've made all my cuts, labeled everything so I'm not gonna get confused later on. And I'm gonna start by nailing my bottom rail to the table right along, nice and flush to the edge. And then I'm gonna put my stile here. When I say I want it to be flush to the edge of the table, what I mean is that the surface here, the 1x3, should be perfectly even with the surface of the top of the bench here. Nice and even all the way along. This top layer can get a little beat up on the corners sometimes, but do your best. Try to make it as even as possible. Not hanging in, not hanging out, perfectly even. Also where the stile meets the rail, you want these to be nice and smooth, nice and even together, as if it's just one piece of wood. All right, this is roughly what it's going to look like once I start putting it together, but I haven't yet figured out where my door stiles are supposed to live. The trick with a theatrical style flat is that if you're looking at the front elevation, when we're building it front down. So we kind of have to flip the image in our head to lay it out correctly. This side here, this is 9 inches. That's how far away this door stile is. But that side is actually going to be over here. So that's where I'm going to measure 9 inches, 7 inches on this side. Rather than guessing here, I'm going to figure out these two lines together. I'm going to get these right out of the way. I'm going to slide this right into place here. I'm going to use my combo square to draw a line continuous. I'm going to put a little X. That's going to indicate where my stile should end up. Same with this toggle, the top of the door. I'm going to make my measurement now to figure out where it lives here. I'm going to check my measurement here on the drawing. It says 2'6" to the top, and that is from the bottom. So I can just take this, measure 2 feet 6 inches. And again, before I've nailed anything down, I can just take my stile here, slide it to the side, make sure it's touching at the bottom here, and then I can mark where the top of my door is. Again, I'm going to put an X to indicate where that toggle is supposed to sit. Now, starting in the corner, I can nail everything down to the table. Now that I've got the frame nailed down to the table, I can put my gussets in their place. We're going to be insetting the gussets 1 inch on the inside of the door and the outside of the flat. It's not imperative that we inset it on the bottom there, so I won't worry about that. I'll keep it inset maybe 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch, but I definitely want to inset it 1 inch from the inside and the outside. I'm going to take my combo square, set it for 1 inch, and then take my pencil and draw that 1 inch inset. It's easy to see where these 5-inch wide gussets are supposed to go because they're 1 inch on each side. This is 7 inches. This will be 1 inch less on each side, so 5 inches. But this one is 7 inches square. So I'm going to be watching to make sure that you make the grain of the wood. You can see how grainy it is along this direction. You want the grain to run up and down. That's going to make a stronger bond here between the bottom rail and the two stiles. Take a little bit of glue. And I like a nice thick bead. Nice big hole there, it's easier to squeeze, but don't go too crazy with the glue. Put it into its place. Make sure that you're about on your lines for the inset. And I can take my stapler with 7/8 inch staples, and I'm going to start in the corners. once I've got the corners nailed down or stapled, I'm going to take my combo square and I'm going to do a little layout so it's very easy to see where the rest of my staples are supposed to go. The bottom rail runs continuously right through, so I'm going to draw a line that does the same. It's going to be continuous, and that's going to help me see exactly where this bottom rail runs here. I'm going to do the same with both styles, but I'm going to stop it at that line because this board does not continue past the bottom rail. Now it's much easier for me to see where the rest of my staples are going to go. You're going to have one across from each other here, one at the edge of each board here and here. In the corners, across from there, this is buddy there, here and here. There's a bit of a long space over here, so I'm going to put one more right there. And that's 15 staples. I'm going to do the same with all the other ones. On this corner block, same as before. One where the edge of a board is. In the corners where boards meet. This long space over here, and this long space over here. And that's 11 staples. Okay, I'm ready to pry this off the table. You're gonna have to get a pry bar and jam it underneath, lift it off. The nails might either stick into the table or they might be poking out the back of the flat, so just be careful where you put your hands. You'll be just fine. You want to take your time with this because I have a nail in here and a nail in here and the glue really hasn't had a chance to set. Whenever possible, I try to get the pry bar underneath both pieces and lift them up at once. There is still a chance that this could be too weak and you might break it if you just crank up on one side and not the other. So try to do them both, but again, just take your time with it. Now there's 3 types of pliers that we'll use in the shop to pull a nail out like this. We have some side cutters, needle nose pliers work as well. And these are nail pullers. This one's really great. You just have a little pinch there. I'm not even pinching that hard with my hand here. And you just get a grip, and if you just rock it towards the one side, it'll just pull it out really nicely. I can do the same to these couple nails that I have here on the bench while I have it out. Okay, we're almost ready to sheet the front of this with the 1/4 inch luan. I'm gonna give you guys a pre-cut sheet. If times are tough, well, I might give you 2 thinner sections. You may have to add a small second style here in between the bottom here. I'll maybe just do 8 inches apart, something like that. Always feeling that it's nice and flush. If it starts to feel like it's not, well, you might get a friend to help twist and push the luan around to make it nice and even. We can use a drywall square, we can use a combination square, but I want to do a little layout just to make sure that I know where I'm stapling into that bottom rail, because I'm going to be coming back and putting staples in between each of the original ones there. I like a little zigzag pattern, and if they're all about 4 inches apart, that's perfect. Again, sometimes the 1x3 can twist and turn. It can have all kinds of crowns and twists to it. So if it's not perfectly even all the way, well, you might have to get a friend to help pull the top layer of luan to the side and push the flat the other way. If it's too tough, well, you may have to get a clamp. This right now, well, it feels pretty good. So I'm just gonna go ahead, starting at the bottom, working my way up, and again, every 8 inches. I'll use that combination square again, set it for 2.5 inches, and give myself a little layout line. this was a brand new sheet of luan, it would have a perfect 90-degree corner here, and that's just gonna help reinforce the 90-degree-ness of the flat itself. I've got those. I wanna work my way out from this corner all the way to that corner because sometimes the luan can have some bubbles and stuff in it, and we wanna kind of work that out. We don't wanna end up with too much in here. So I'm gonna do some more layout, make sure I know exactly where my door style is, my door top toggle, the other style here, and then I'm gonna staple the same way all the way from here up to the top corner. When I'm putting my staples in, I don't want to go too close to the line. I don't want the chance for a staple to actually hang out the inside and not actually be into the rail. So, you know, these lines, they're right on the edge. I'm just going to cheat them in 1/4 of an inch. That'll be fine. All right, at this point, your door flat doesn't look much like a door at all. So we're gonna have to cut out the center section here, and for that, we're going to be using a flush cutting router bit. I'm gonna take this drill. I've got some good layout here. You may be hard to see from this angle. But I'm just gonna start it off in the corner there, right in the middle of the doorway there. Be careful that you are drilling your hole in the correct spot. Get out some hearing protection. Get your router. You can put that bit just in the hole that you've got there, fire it up, and then we're gonna go clockwise around the inside. Here first, all the way around, and that's gonna cut this door opening right out real nicely for us. Before I start filling in the holes where my staples are with the putty, I'm just gonna take a sander, just run around in case there's any little splinters that are sticking up, because that can make a mess of the puttying when you're doing that. Last thing to do before this is a paint ready flat is to fill these staple holes. All right, we want to leave a nice smooth surface for the paint to go on. We love using our Sure Stick Featherweight Spackling. This is a nice lightweight wood filler. It sort of keeps its flexibility even once it's dried, which is nice because often when you're moving a large flat like this around, it's going to have a little flex to it and you don't want it to dry and crack. When this stuff is brand new, it has a nice little pink hue to it. This stuff is a little bit old, so well, it's not pink anymore, but it still works. It still has enough life in it. We can use any variety of spatula. This is a nice little 2-incher, 3.5-incher, 4-incher once you get good at this. But as you're starting, you may want to start with a small one like this. Load a larger spatula with some of the spackle that you think you'll use. Take what you want, but use what you take. It's not good to put too much of this stuff back in there because it's gonna have little bits of wood and it's gonna make a mess of that. So your painters are gonna yell at you for that. So take a little bit on there, smear it in there, and then scrape it off. And you usually try to go one direction, one way, and then scrape it off the other direction. That way you're sort of filling both sides. And this is the same as drywall, if you've ever done drywall, or if you've ever had a wild party and your buddies put a bunch of dents in the wall, get out some spackle, patch it up before your parents are home, and they may never know the difference. So. Whammy! There you go. You finished your door flat. You might be wondering why we still have this bottom rail in here. If I haven't explained that in class already, we would cut that out later and we'd put a piece of flat iron steel across the bottom to keep these at the correct distance from each other. But we leave it in there while we're building it. When I'm marking this, I'm going to be looking to make sure that you've made the right length cuts for your top and bottom rails. They're the width of the flat. Your stiles are the correct length to make the height the correct flat. your toggle fits in nicely, and also that your door stiles are cut to the correct length. You have your door stiles placed in the correct location, and your door is the correct height to match your drawing. I'm going to be looking to make sure that you have those 1-inch insets on all your gussets, that your layout on your gusset is correct, and that you have the correct stapling pattern. Also, well, I'll be making sure you haven't had too many staples on the face, and that you've done a nice job wood filling. If you followed all those directions closely and do a nice job of it, well, you're going to get a fantastic grade on this. So good luck, and we'll see you in the lab.